Okay, yeah, Presco H1 2026 results. So this is their half-year results. It just came out. If you look at the upline side of things, you see that revenue grew by 0.007%, which is just pretty flat. Then the half-year average, which is the half-year, is actually hiding a sharp reversal that becomes visible when the two quarters are read separately. So what does it mean? Half year comprises of Q1 and Q2. Q1 ranges from January to March, while Q2 is from April to June. So, but when you are comparing half year, you're just running it through from January to July. So it's 2 quarters. So there was a quarter that did pretty well compared to the next quarter. So that is what this H1 is hiding. So we are going to dive into. You can get this research earlier on our X page. What you need to do is just go to X, search for _invest. Then get it earlier, like today is 7th, but it has been published since the 3rd of August. Even though the research work is evergreen, you can always overlay it with what you're doing. Because some people, the mistake they make is once the data is out, they start buying. No, if you know what you're doing, you know that there is a way to time your entry in the market, but we're not going to get to that. So what we are pointing at is probably you're watching on YouTube. So always get a hang of this research before we make some of these videos. So the next thing is, if you're not familiar with the research, how it's being distributed, you see that we have 4 sections. We have the headlines, we have what's happened side of the section, we have what we found out, we have the evidence, then finally the next quarter and stuff like that. Then for the graphic side of the research, of course, we have 4 graphics here. You will see the price chart, which shows exactly what the market is trading at a time. Then you will have the income statement, which we have stripped out, clean it up, and make it better for you. Then we have the balance sheet and of course the cash flow. So these are the 4 sides. So on this video, we're going to explain things. Then you can read up the research like always. So let's Okay, so the first thing we have here is the price chart of Presco. Hold on a sec. Okay, sorry about that. We have some glitch. So this is the Presco price chart. So if you look at the price chart, depending on when it was listed, you look at the where it started off, sub 200, climbed and stuff like that. So current market price is sitting around 2017 naira. So it toppled around above 2003, then it dropped. So this is where it is right now. So you can use this and see the long-term performance of the price charts. Then the next thing we're gonna look at is the income statement. Go down this set. Okay, so this is the income statements of Presco. So you can see H1 26 and H1 25. We can see that there was no more difference in the revenue, the top line, pretty flat. Then the gross profit even dropped. Then you look at in finance costs also, and then the bottom line and the tax side of things. So the bottom line also again that dropped compared to previous quarter. Also the earnings dropped. So that is why you see the margins, all the margins actually dropping. So it was a slow half when you put the two results together. The only thing that improved, we're gonna tell you everything that happened. Yeah? So this is the balance sheet. Of course, the assets grew. So no asset didn't grow though. The assets also dropped. the equity side, the equity create over 500 million now, then the liability. So for the ratios, the current ratio dropped a little bit, then equity to assets improved, return on assets also improved, then return on equity, it dropped compared to what it was last year. Then for the cash flow, free cash flow, there is the free cash. So for the free cash flow, it's improved though from 38 billion to now 63 billion to what it was last year, so which is pretty good. So behind the numbers, so stuff that happened, so let's run in on it. So number one is you can say that the revenue is mixed. So in the mixed nature of the revenue, the operation is the smallest contributor. So let's look at some of the things that contributed to the revenue. The core products were actually down by minus 2.6% year on year. That is, their major product is palm oil and the refined products. So they were actually down year on year. Then there was two new product line. The meal by product, there's a product they call meal by products, and the fresh fruit bunches, that's the FFB. So that's one, which wasn't part of the BOOP. It didn't contribute to 5, now contributed over 5.1 billion naira this time around. So it is these two product line, their meal by products and the fresh fruit bunch added to the revenue side of things. Then the whole profit before tax story was actually saved by the finance cost, that's finance income, that's because of the macro backdrop of higher interest rates. So it's led to them earning some income on their deposits. So that was what added so close to 9.3%. Then in segment wise, geographically, Nigeria, they sell to Nigeria and Ghana. So in Nigeria, their sales grew over 164.6 billion, that's to 12.4%, while in Ghana, it's dropped by 34%. How can your sales drop from 52.3 billion before to now 34.1 billion? So that is concerning what is happening in Ghana. That is one concern. So the Ghana dragged down the operation. Then, of course, another thing to note is that after their rights issue, which has been completed, their share count now grew from 1 billion. Before, their outstanding shares were just 1 billion. It has now grew from 1 billion to 1.167 billion. Of course, there is an interim dividend of 10 naira per share, and their free float value has now jumped from 569 billion to now 903 billion. So that is it about Presco. So you go read up this, watch what to watch side of things. You factor in and then know finally what happened with Presco. Like we have alluded, the operation is mixed. The revenue is mixed. Core product dropping, new product line saving the day, Ghana dragging it out, Nigeria still growing, tailwind of macro, high finance, and stuff like that. All these things factoring is what happened with Presco. See you in the next one.